Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm your host, Richard Dugan, and I thank you so much for joining us on the radio broadcast at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on a Sunday and Monday mornings at 1 a.m. The broadcast podcasts are available on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, as well as richarddugan.com, the homepage, as well as the radio shows page. And we encourage you, if you can, to support us financially to keep the programs moving forward and take care of all of the ancillary things through PayPal and Patreon accounts. They are for your security as well as ours. We hope that you will do your part and do what you can if you feel led to do so. We'll even take energetic support as well. And we also encourage you to go to our guest's website. We'll be giving you that during the interview so that you can continue your evolutionary process. We also encourage you to spend time in meditation, in prayer, in just quiet time during 2020, the year of perfect vision, and the 2020s, the decade of perfect vision. And we hope that you will do that. Listen to that still small voice, that divine self, your higher self, and follow the promptings. And find that still, small, quiet, peaceful place where you can just relax and get a hold of what's really important in your life. We encourage you to do that. And we also encourage you to stay tuned to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan. Stay tuned. Our special guest here on the program, along with her cat, Taylor, our guest is Joyce Isaacson, and she's going to share with us a rather intriguing story about a work that she has put together, and it's called Wish You Were Here, a rock fantasy. And I will tell you that a little bit of the behind the scenes, I've been supporting her, both just encouraging her as well, but also supporting her with providing some music they're going to use within the audio book, the Audible, as it were. Joyce, thank you so much for being with us. I'm very intrigued by this story, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. And thank you for being here, and Taylor too.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Well, I am excited to have you here. How old is Taylor, by the way, if I might ask?
He's gonna be 4, I think.
Wow.
4 years old.
He's
Might
still a
be.
young pup, as it were,
Yeah.
or kitten.
Oh my gosh.
So let's dive right in here. Now, first of all, you're back east, right?
I'm in
In
Chicago.
Chicago. Well, for us, it's back east. It's the Midwest, but needless to
Yeah,
say,
in Chicago or
and
Chicago.
and you've lived there most of your life, or
Yes. I lived in Chicago for 17 years, and then I moved to Skokie and lived until I was married and moved back to Chicago.
and let's dive into this story. Wish You Were Here, a rock fantasy, something a little different. I've never heard of a rock fantasy. I've heard of rock operas, that kind of thing, and what have you. First of all, Wish You Were Here. Where did the idea or concept come from?
You mean the story itself?
The story itself, yes. Where did that come from?
Well, actually, it happened in 2013. I think it was actually in October. My husband had a little radio station called Sound of Good Tunes, and he asked me to put away some CDs, and I came across one, and it was a Badfinger one, but the only one I recognized on there was Joey Molland, because I've been trying to see him for ages. And so he asked me to put it away, and I took it downstairs with me, and I got curious about it. I put it on my CD player at the time, and I heard this one song called Rock of All Ages, and I just fell in love with it. It sounded so Beatles-ish and stuff, and I was bowled over by it. And I looked about a little bit about the liner notes, and I let's put it this way, I didn't learn that much about them, but I was just really intrigued by the music and started listening to some of the other music with it. Then my husband came downstairs and I said, about Rock of All Ages, I said, it sounds like a Beatles song. He says, yeah, it does. It sounds like Paul McCartney. I said, yeah, it does. I found out later on that Paul McCartney actually did the backup vocals in the song.
Wow.
So, yeah, then a weird thing happened. I I don't know how this happened, but it did. But I do some what they call meditation, and I was just sitting there meditating on my couch, and I just had finished my meditation, and all of a sudden, one of the guys from that was on that cover came into my living room window, and I had in my vision put a spread of food down for him. And he came in, and the first thing he asked me was, "What is this, the thirsty whale?" And I said, I laughed because I'd heard of it, but I'd never been there. And he said in this other Parlian voice, he says, "Oh, I've been there quite a few times." And then he started eating pizza and drinking the tea that I left him. And then he said to me, "Oh," he says, "I was told not to come empty-handed." And he came over with this necklace and he put it around my neck. And I remember looking at it and I shape and everything. And I said, "Oh, I'll never take it off." And then he said to me, "Well," he says, "I'll see you again." And he went right out the window. And I was freaked and I got up. And I have a friend who's very much into paranormal, and I asked him about it. And he says, I have to come over. And I said, "Why?" He says, "I need to come over now." I said, "Okay." So he came over and he brought me this book. I didn't see the cover of the book. He said, "Start paging through the book." So I started paging through the book. And lo and behold, I found the same person that came in through my window wearing that same necklace. So I knew, and my friend knew there was a connection going on or something, because it was the same, and I've never seen this before in my life. That was the weird thing. There goes my cat. And from that point on, my husband had been trying for about, since 2007 or 2008, trying to get me to get onto Facebook. And I just ignored it till 2013. And I finally said to him, "Can I join some groups?" He said, "Sure." He says, "I'll set you up and everything. You can join some, like I wanted to do Zeppelin. And then he asked for a Badfinger group. So I went into the Badfinger group and I found out everybody was hurting from something that had happened to them.
Mhm.
Their manager had stolen all their money, and two of the members subconscious, oh gosh, I can't even say the word. They passed away, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And I was very sad about it myself. Oh, come on. Now my phone's ringing. I just
No
disconnected
worries.
them. Uh, and basically, they were hurting so much that I decided to write to them. I can't believe this. It's like I'm.
All
This
right.
is not fair. Um, they. I wrote to them that Tommy, the character that had come in through my window, everybody would be in his heart, and everybody loved it. And I was like, my gosh, I'm helping people. And I decided to write a little bit more about what they're doing in heaven, Pete and Tommy, because those are the two that subsequently passed away. And I got all these likes and comments. They were all positive. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really am helping people. So I decided at that point, and I couldn't believe this, but I said, okay, there's got to be a backstory, because how did these people, other people get in there? How did Brian Jones get in there? How did the guy from, I can't remember the name of the band now, Free get in there? I mean, it was really a crazy situation.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, so I'm writing a backstory about this girl who actually meets Brian Jones in spirit. And I went with her story, with her adventures with Brian until 1983. And at that point, I decided to bring Tommy into it, going to heaven. And I did a very tasteful way. I think I did. And every and even before I brought Tommy in, everybody was just enjoying the story the way it was. And when Tommy came in, I mean, all again, so many likes and comments were coming in. I was just bowled over by it. And before I knew it, this was on a Badfinger site, and they told me I was into 4 months into it. They told me to cap it, and they said if somebody else comments on it, we're gonna, kill it. And I was panicking, and I decided, okay, I got to take this story down to my site and I wasn't sure if I got it all, and I did get it all finally, and no, only 2 people could find me on my personal page. That was it, 2 people, and I wrote for them for 4 months, and one of the guys, actually made me my own Badfinger site, and we just put down drawings instead of pictures because I wasn't sure because the peers were the ones that had all the photos and stuff, and I didn't really know at that time. So all of a sudden I started going out there and collecting people for my site, and then they started coming to me. And I was writing, and before I knew it, I had like, I would say half a story, and I was just enjoyed doing it. Then they started saying, when are you going to publish it? I'm like, publish it? And I'm like, I know nothing about publishing. I could not believe this. And it it turned out that I sat on it for a whole year, and I finished most of the story. And then again, they were encouraging me to publish it. So I said, okay. It was an archaic writing at the time. So I had to like go to other people, other authors, and ask them, well, what do you think about this? And they gave me their advice and everything. And they said, you're in the wrong PVO. You have to change it around. So I went and changed around 800 pages. Yes. And after changing around 800 pages, I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out about editing it. Then I thought about, how am I going to do this? How am I going to publish? And I got a woman, and she made me a query. I started sending queries out to publishers, and boy, did I get turned down. I got turned down like 30 times. And I said, oh, I don't know what to do. I decided to publish it myself. Then I ran into a snag. I got it edited, and it's a real strange story about how I got the money for the editing, and it had to do with a shed. And the shed was I guess it was compromised or something, and I got money back for it. So I used that for editing and formatting and even the cover. So here I have everything, and all of a sudden I realized something. I got all these dead people in there. All these dead people. I'm like, so I tried to get I got a hold of something called the Lawyers of Creative Arts, and they wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole as a pro bono. They would not touch me. So I was very sad. Now, here's the kicker. When I started writing Tommy into the story, I saw Tommy behind me. And he said to me, Joyce, he said, it would be a very boring story if I don't meet someone. I said, well, okay, so who do you want to meet? I mean, I'm talking to my character. He said, how about Janis Joplin? So I said, oh, she's good. You can put her in there. So I wrote her in, and Tommy was very happy about it. And then we started writing in all these other people, all these famous people. It just grew. And when I was so depressed when the pro bono lawyers touched me, and I thought, oh my gosh, the whole thing has stopped. And Tommy came over to me, and he sat down with me on the couch, and he said to me, Joyce, he says, you're going to publish. I said, everything's stopped. How can I publish? He said, don't worry, it's going to happen. He said, cut up cardboard. It's going to happen. And I didn't believe him. I said, I can't. He said, yes, you can. He says, get your frustrations out and cut up the cardboard. So I cut up 40 pieces of cardboard. 2 weeks later, this actually happened. I met on LinkedIn somebody that was actually in my Facebook group that I didn't even know this. He was a lawyer. And I talked to him and I said to him, if you read my story and you give me the green light, I will give you a book for free. He said, deal. So I'm freaked out about it. I'm waiting a month for him to finish reading. He finally reads it and says, it's okay, you can publish it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm going to publish like Tommy knew. Now, I really believe that everything comes from the Creator. This is what I do believe. So I published, and I, the book was doing pretty well with the self-publishing and everything. But my heart was into getting a real publisher at the time. Meanwhile, all these different things were happening with Tommy and I. And the reason why I believe Tommy's in my life is because I got so much confirmation from him. It's really amazing. And one of the confirmations I did get was I wanted to go to Israel and see my brother. And I didn't have the money and I didn't have anything to do that at that time. And I was sitting on the couch and Tommy said to me, you're gonna go. I said, I don't think so. He says, yes. He says, I want you to imagine yourself there. And we did this for about, oh my gosh, 2 months. And then all of a sudden I went to a wedding and my daughter-in-law said to me, she says, you really want to go to Israel, don't you? And I said, yeah. She says, you're going. I said, what? And she says, I'm paying for your trip. And it happened.
Wow.
And I went and I had a great time. And then there were other things with Tommy. He would tell me all the time when my husband would come home. He was right on the money on this. He would tell me things, the mail's here. He would say, I wouldn't even know if the mail's here. He said, no, the mail's here right now. You got a package. I'm like, okay. And he says, I swear you got a package. And I went outside and I looked and there was the package. And there were other things. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I know that, but the big kicker was that one day I was actually praying to God and I asked him, I said, is he in my life? And is he supposed to be in my life? And that night I had a dream. And in the dream, Tommy was telling me, you're the writer of my story. And I want you to be in my place, in my shoes. And I want you to do exactly everything that I tell you to do. So we went through the whole dream like that. And when I woke up from the dream, the first thing that came on when the dream was ending was Baby Blue on the radio. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is just so bizarre because WXRT hardly plays Badfinger. And there it was, and I told my husband, and my husband said to me, yes, he says, that's for you. Now, the other reason why I know Tommy was in my life was because when I was writing the story, and I'll explain the story a little bit. Basically, what it is, it's about a rock star battling severe depression, failing to restart his music career, wants to be in heaven where his bandmate is, but he finds himself alone in paradise. This compels him to search for his mate, where he meets all these famous musicians and people, and it's a race against time to connect with him before he possibly goes back to the earth plane, like he's reborn again. So that's basically what the story is about. But when I was writing this story, Tommy said, oh, I love this color black and I love the color purple. And she says, make a black couch for me and let me wear purple clothes. I'm like, okay. And he said, my favorite food is pizza. I said, really? I said, yeah. He says, put pizza in there. So I put pizza in there. Years later, I would find out that from his friends that I met, that his favorite colors were black and purple, and one of his favorite dishes that he made was pizza. So I thought that was pretty amazing. And so actually, people were enjoying the story who bought the book. They loved it so much, and they were telling me how much they loved it. And the next thing I know, they're saying to me, Joyce, you need to make this a movie. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just made it a book. How am I going to make a movie? So I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I found someone on LinkedIn, and I talked to her about it. And she said she'd make me a script. I said, okay, I'll pay them $200 and we'll have a script. So we made a script. And by that time, the weirdest thing had happened to me. I started talking to this one publisher, and we were just talking chit chat on LinkedIn. And then I just said to her, one point I said, how about if I send you 25 pages of my story? And she said, sure. So I sent it to her. I'm thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen. And I forgot about it for about 3 days. And then in the mail, I got, oh, by the way, here's a contract. Like, what? I was so excited. I was jumping for joy. And Tommy's like, see, your story is a good story. And I'm like, okay, this is good. And the only thing was, we had to change the names. And what happened was, when I was going to do the movie, I was told that because I had so many dead people in there, that I wouldn't get all the rights for years. And we'd have to change the names. And I was like freaking out about it. And I had my head down. Tommy said, it's okay. You can change the names. It's going to be all right. And I said, I don't know. I went into the bathroom, washed my face. I came out, and the TV popped on. Just popped on. And I'm looking at it. And Tommy says, this is the green light. It's okay. You can do it. And I decided, okay. So I talked to my publisher. She talked to her lawyer. And because we want to have it similar to the movie, and we know that that's really important, we change names in the book. But the inspiration, all the inspired people are in the book. They're right there in the front, and it says inspired by this, and that. And people are having fun figuring out who's who. And I was able to keep Thomas as Tomas, and it's still Thomas, so it's fine with me. And I'm really happy. And then I was like, my gosh, I wanted to do an audiobook on top of all this. And I was trying to partner with somebody and see if I could do that. But then I thought about, oh, wait a minute, my publisher's got to be involved in this or something. And how do we do this? And then a couple of days later, she got in touch with me, and she had said to me, how would you like to have an audiobook of your story? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, oh, definitely. And people are like really excited about this. My friends on Facebook are excited. I'm excited. We tried one narrator, and he was, never mind him. And I had a dream, and in the dream, I actually heard the narrator, and I knew from that point on that I was going to get somebody that sounded pretty much like him, like Tommy. And I told my publisher about it. I said, this dream's got to come true. And again, something happened. I met somebody on LinkedIn. He couldn't do it, but he sent me to somebody that he thought could do it. And I couldn't believe it. He's really good. This person is really, really good at doing it. So there's a lot going on, and we're doing the sequel. And the sequel is going to be, it's going to be on pre-order soon. We're going into the first book to put links to my newsletter. I do have a newsletter, and it does have some Badfinger related stuff in there. And it also talks about some of the paranormal stuff that I have. It's really an interesting newsletter. And when people join my newsletter, they get my Rock Dreams fantasy book. and it's all pictures of rock stars and little tidbits about them, all drawings that I did from 2000 and no, to no, sorry, 1978 to 2015, and it's a really cool book. So
Wow.
everybody gets that. It's free.
Wow.
But
That's very
every
cool.
go ahead.
I was going to say, you don't look that old. I'm 60. Okay. And you said you've done since you were 19, in 1978. I graduated high school in 78. Come on. But you have brought up so many different things, so many different directions that we could go here. I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, your philosophical upbringing. That's the word that I use now to try to get people to share where they're coming from philosophically or spiritually. I mean, you talk about Tommy in this conversation you're having with him constantly, and Tommy is telling you yes or no, go left, go right, God, those kinds of things. To me, that's like our intuition. Tell me about your philosophical, if you will, or spiritual upbringing.
Well, I was actually, I'm Jewish, and I was actually very on the conservative side. But my mom, I guess my great grandmother, she was a very spiritual person, and she, believe it or not, she learned a lot of things from the gypsies and stuff like that. And from a very early age, I was dealing with spirits actually,
Hmm.
and I was able. My mom, she would sometimes believe me, and other times she was scared of me. It was a really such weird situation, and I always believed in God. That I've always believed in, and at times it's like I always believed that everything came from Him because that's what I was taught. And this is where I'm at. I really believe that God brought him into my life as sort of as a helper. Like everything has, like we're all tools to help each other, whether it's friends, whether it's other family members, even spirits help, and angels. But I don't believe anything is separate from God. That's something I really don't believe
Hmm.
in. And as my journey as a writer, as a mother, and everything, my journey, I went through a period where I was going with somebody that wasn't Jewish, and for some reason, I I turned around and I started going towards my religion, and which was very interesting because I, in a million years, didn't think I ever marry an Orthodox man.
Mm.
And yeah, and I did actually, and I'm really happy that he's a little bit like Darren in some ways because Tommy likes to play with the TV upstairs when I'm in panic mode. He will play with the TV to get his attention, come down and see me. So that has happened.
Mm.
So,
I know
but
that the spirit world, as many call it, the other side, although I honestly do not believe that there is an other side, that there's only one side. And either you see or experience or hear or sense these entities or essences, spirits, whatever you want to call them, or you don't. Just depends upon your maybe your level of consciousness in one sense, or your openness. For you, whether your consciousness is raised or not, somehow, somewhere along the way, you were not programmed to not believe that these things exist. And so you were open to receiving, and all of a sudden you have this entity, if you will, Tommy, who you have this relationship with. I mean, it's pretty incredible. And it's not. I mean, we have friends in this material world, someone we'll call our best friend, and we hang with them and we communicate with them on a regular basis, maybe on the phone, maybe Facebook, maybe social media, maybe in person, and all of those things. The other aspect too is this story, which is rather interesting, and it's sort of, in a general sense, sort of parallels the journey you've been on in developing all of this and how this all has come to be, from the book to the movie to the audiobook, and how it sounds to me like the story that you've written is where this individual who is trying to reconnect with his mate, right?
Yes.
Comes across all of these different people, who give him clues to the next step and the next step. It's kind of almost like a what do they call it? A scavenger hunt, almost like a
Yes.
scavenger hunt or a treasure hunt. And that's kind of what you've been on in that respect. Although for you, it sounds to me like there really wasn't an end game to this. There wasn't a pot of gold at the end of this. It was one thing led to another. Oh, hey, this is kind of cool. That led to another. Oh, this is kind of cool too. Led to another, and so forth. So your journey has sort of been the treasure.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Now,
And
you say you married an Orthodox gentleman who is
yes.
also, am I correct? Would I be correct in saying he's an IT person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he is.
So he's very intellectual. He's very logically minded, right?
See, very much.
Okay. So
Um,
how has he received this very illogical aspect of Joyce?
well, it's an interesting thing. Um, he started to, I started telling him a little bit about what was going on with me, but he didn't really pick it up until one day I was in the kitchen. He was watching the baseball game, and all of a sudden I was thinking of Homer Simpson and Marge Simpson, and I yelled out Homer. And all of a sudden, the other team hit a home run. And my husband was like, "What?" He came in and said, "I can't believe it. You said Homer, and this is what happened." He says, "Oh, now I'm really starting to believe in what you're telling
Oh,
me."
wow. Wow. Well, first of all, I like him already because he's IT, but I like him even more because he's a baseball fan. I
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love the game. I I'm originally from Phoenix, and I'm so thankful to the baseball gods that I can honestly say I come from a World Series town. Because I loved baseball as a kid growing up. We would listen to the Dodgers play on a Phoenix radio station. They would carry the games. And I thought, boy, it sure would be cool if we got a major league team, which we finally did in the mid '90s. It's going to be years before they ever make it to the playoffs and maybe even the World Series. And who knew? 4 years later, they're in the World Series with who other than the perennial Yankees? I mean, we're going up
Yes.
against the best of the best here, and we managed to pull it off. And so I was so excited about that. But I don't have a team that I root for per se these days. I just love watching the game. It's everything that's going on between those lines and the diamond in the outfield. It's just it's fun to watch armchair manager. Okay, what are we going to do here? And whether you're on offense or defense, it's just fascinating. Anyway, um, so what about any contradictions between your experiences and your philosophical upbringing? Or have you been able to find examples in your spiritual beliefs and or the writings, the Torah, and so on and so forth, that
Oh, yeah.
support everything that's been happening to, or almost everything that has happened to you, and especially this ongoing conversation you have with Tommy or Thomas?
Thomas, yeah. Well, I was in this one class with this one rabbi, and he had my jaw like this open. he was just saying so much stuff, and it was just so amazing. It was so spiritual that I had to talk to him. And I told him at the time about a particular soul that was in my life before Tommy was in my life. And he started telling me, okay, there are certain rules that you need to follow. I'm like, okay, what are they? And he said, one of them is you can't ask them questions and you can't ask them to pray for you. But everything else is okay. You know, that was it. And I'm like, okay, then I'm gonna do this. You know, I I really, you know, this is who I am. I can't help being who I am. You
Right.
know, it's been my life. I mean, the first time that it ever happened to me, I prayed for a particular soul. He came into my life, and the first thing he said to me, Joyce, I was murdered. And I'm like, I had no idea at that time. I didn't even know if he really was in my life. And I was only 17 years old. And when you're 17-year-old and you're dealing with a soul, and you're dealing with your parents, and you're dealing with your family and everything, and you're dealing with who you are going to be, or who you know, there's a lot of frustration there because you're only a certain age. And I was so frustrated. And it took me a while to actually start believing that this was happening.
Mm.
I thought for a while I was going crazy. Then in 1981, I actually had a dream. And in this dream, he showed me how he was murdered. He showed me. And in 1984, a book came out with him, a guy who saw the murder of this person. And it was exactly what I saw. So, and then from that point on, I started to believe. And by 1994, it came out. He was murdered. So I was like, wow, you know, that was just an amazing situation. And I can't help, like I said, I can't help being me.
No, you've got to be who you are. I'm curious about the relationship you have with your friends. As you say, you were born and raised in Chicago, moved to New York, then back to Chicago again.
Not
So,
in New York. I went to Skokie.
Skokie. Okay,
Skokie is a suburb of Chicago.
I beg your pardon.
And I have a lot of good friends. I have a lot of supportive friends. And that's what that helped me a lot. I have one girlfriend, she says, oh, if Tommy says something to you, you should believe it. It shouldn't just, because I'm always waiting for the next confirmation, always. And
Yeah,
until it comes, I'm like, you know, I don't believe it.
he
But
just he just offers the information. You, as you were instructed by the rabbi, you don't ask questions. He just offers the info.
yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I'm allowed to put things instead of a question, I put things in a statement. I'll
Huh?
say something like, I don't know what today's weather is going to be like. Instead of saying, Tommy, what's the weather going to be like today?
Mhm.
And I'm allowed to do that, I found out. And they know when I'm asking a question without asking a question.
Yeah.
So it
Now,
works out for me.
I would think that it would be fairly obvious to most of the people listening that you are communicating with someone who is connected with the divine, only
Yeah,
because your life is it's flowing, it's happening. You're on purpose. You're living your life's purpose. You're following the guidance of, I'm going to call it your intuition. You're calling it Tommy. I call mine my friend. I haven't given it a name. I just say my friend. But I know a lot of people get a little concerned, and there are people who are very, even whether they're, and I don't know that much about the Jewish faith, but I do know about Christianity because that's what I was born and raised in, Catholicism. I also worked
hmm
for 15 years for a Christian radio station, and what you're talking about, some would say, "Oh, no, 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 you don't go there. That's of the devil. You don't want to go there." What about you? How are you? Are you obviously you are certain that this entity is not out to harm you. It's not out to do any harm to you or anybody else. It's here to help you. Was
Yes.
that just apparent from the get-go? You don't have to sit there and go, "Are you of God?" Of course, there's a question. because that's a lot of the preparatory stuff that a lot of mediums will do when they're calling in certain spirits and they want to protect themselves and coat themselves with the white light and so on and so on and so on. Tell us about that aspect of it and your assurance that this is good to go.
Okay, I'll explain it to you. Back in 2016, I was visiting Tom. Tom used to come all the time on Tuesdays, and I got actually written down all his visits. And just let me get rid of this call. And in 2016, I came down with bronchitis, sinusitis, and he came with me to the doctor's office. And I can see him through the corner of my eye. I can see him. What he's wearing, what he's doing, I can see motion, things like that. I can see that. So I know something's there. Anyway, I was told by my doctor that I had to be on an antibiotic, but I couldn't touch my cholesterol medicine. I said, well, what happens if I touch it? He says, you'll die. I'm like, really? And he said, yes. He says, there'll be a reaction and your heart will fail and you'll just die. And here I was, I came home and my head was so jumbled up. And one time I went to reach for the medicine and he took my hand away. He literally took my hand away and he said to me, no, you can't touch this. He says, I'm going to have to stay with you until you get better. And he's been very good to me. Very, very good. And I only know what he wants me to know, believe it or not. Whatever, it's on a need-to-know basis kind of thing, and that's how it works.
So if you were to make a statement, he's there visiting you, and you made a statement in regards to current events, let's say, doesn't matter what it is, just current events. If that has nothing to do with you and your life and the direction you're going and how he is supporting and assisting you, he's going to say that's unimportant or something along those lines because it's unimportant. You need to be focused on Joyce, not on what's going on in the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, he gets really upset with me when I stay up late at night, and he's threatened to turn my computer down, and he's done it 3 times. He's done it. And my husband was like, oh my gosh. He said, you got to save your work because I'm turning your computer down. And he did. And I said, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm going to sleep. Yeah. He's there for that as well.
It's very, very interesting that you have someone who is there, who can come in and come and go at will, and is there to support you, to guide you, to encourage you, sometimes to admonish you to go to bed. And would you say that there is, let's just say Tommy is a guardian angel, all right?
He's like that. I would believe that.
Would you say that we all have one and that we just need to open ourselves up in order to be able to hear them and or even communicate with them? I mean, you have conversations with Tom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe that people can, I believe that there are guardian angels. Everyone has one. I believe that, honestly, that the reason why some people can't pick things up is because they're just not open. We have like waves, like radio waves all the time, going all over the place that has the future and has this and that and the other. And our souls are picking it up, but not always our consciousness is picking it up. And I just seem to have picked it up on certain things because I have actually had world event future things I saw in dreams, or I saw 9/11. I saw the Oklahoma bombing. I saw what happened in Chicago with this guy that was running around killing Jewish people. I saw all that. Yeah. My husband was like, oh my gosh, he believes me and everything, but he still feels like Darren in some ways. He
Folks,
really,
if you're wondering who Darren is, I think you're referring to Darren from Bewitched. Yeah,
yes.
that's yeah.
Mhm.
He's like, okay, okay, but don't rock my world too much. You know,
Exactly. And
don't
that's what
don't
my
rattle my
husband's
yeah, don't rattle my
husband's
cage.
the same way. Yes. It's the same way with my
We're talking
husband.
we're talking with Joyce Isaacson, and we're also talking about the latest work that has exploded from a book to a movie to an audio book that is going to sound really, really cool, I'm sure. And it's called Wish You Were Here. It is a rock fantasy. Now, the phrase "wish you were here," is that coming from the one searching who's in paradise or the one who has left, the mate?
It's basically the person that he's looking for. That's what Wish You Were Here is all about. And it's a friend was the one that coined the phrase. It's actually an album by Badfinger called Wish You Were Here. And there's also a Pink Floyd album, but Badfinger did it first. So they did it first.
Very good.
And
Well, go ahead.
people should really listen to Wish You Were Here, the album. It's a fantastic album. I'm going to say that. They should listen to it.
So you're a big rock fan,
Yes.
especially going back to the 60s, 70s, as far as that's concerned. One of
Yes.
the things that I have noticed, and I wasn't when I was a kid growing up in high school, but I have a great appreciation for it today. I probably wore out the cassette tape of Jesus Christ Superstar, the rock opera. I absolutely loved listening to that thing. I mean, it was so cool. Not just the voices, but obviously the lyrics and the music. And one of the things I heard about, and there was this survey that was taken of music lovers, if you will, going back several decades. And they said that the music of today, and this isn't criticizing it, but it's observing the difference between the music of today and the music, even the rock music of the 60s and 70s, that it doesn't matter what you're listening to it on. I don't care if it's a cassette, it's an album, it's a CD, it's an MP3. There isn't the fullness of the music today that there was back then, because even in rock music, they might even incorporate a full orchestra or horns or other instrumentation you would not necessarily associate with rock music. And that is one of the things that has brought me around to really appreciating the rock music of that era, of my teen years that I didn't really appreciate. I mean, I really enjoy Queen. I really enjoy. My brother loved them. He loved Kiss. Cheap
I love
Trick,
kids too.
Cheap Trick, um, and all of those in that genre. And now today, I can truly appreciate what they put out, the work that they created. It's incredible. I mean, yeah, most of them have that incredibly twangy, hard guitar lick bridge in there. Sure, most of them do, and that's fine. But there's more to it than that, you know.
I
And
agree.
there's more to it than the driving drums, and that's the beauty of it. Whereas today, you don't have quite that anymore, unless you have younger people who have. And as I say, younger people, it's kind of weird. I'm 60, and now younger people are younger than me. But they have grown to appreciate that music and said, you know what, we could do that. Why not? And so there are those who are developing that new style or bringing back that style. And I love it.
I know a couple of bands like that. The Wanteds, they're wonderful. The Raz Band, Joey Mullen played with them. My friend, it's only a guitar right now, but he does like a Bob Dylan thing, and it's really, really good.
Oh, wow.
And they are going to be in my book, my audio book, and I'm so excited about this. I also have another friend, Stuart Howell. He's going to be doing his band is called the Incubes, and he's going to be doing the final song for the story. I'm really so excited about this audiobook and the book itself. I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they said to me, Joyce, this book is just fantastic. I'm in, I did about 1/4 of the book already. It's like, I can't wait to read more. I can't wait to read more. And I was getting that like 3 times yesterday. I was like, oh, wow, this is really an amazing book.
That's incredible.
And the same thing with the sequel. I mean, a sequel is out there on Facebook, and I do that, 1,000 words, and just to get their, feet wet or whatever, taste in their mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And the movie thing, we're working on the getting the funding for it, hopefully in November. And I'm hoping to be in production by June.
Oh,
That's really, hopefully it will happen. So,
and
got plan B too, if that falls through.
it's always
So
good
I've
to
got
have a plan B.
plans.
Yeah.
You have to have plans. You have to plan A and B and C and stuff. And the problem with me is I'm always 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
That's something that I am.
Yeah, well, you have Tommy to help you stay 2 or 3 steps ahead.
I do. I really, really do.
But you
I
trust.
actually had a picture of Tommy on my wall.
Uh-huh.
I took a picture and I had a shadow on my wall, and I took a pen and I drew where his nose was and his mouth and everything. Like, oh my gosh, that's Tommy.
Mm.
That was him. And
Wow.
I've got to find that picture again. And I don't know where it is now. It's somewhere. And I've got something very special. I've got his cooking pot. And that was given to me by somebody who was close to the band. And what did he cook in there? The last thing? Pizza.
Of course. That was his favorite dish.
That was his favorite dish. One of his favorite dishes. He also likes curry. He loves curry, just like all the English people. They like curry. He finally got me he told me, try the curry. It took me a month. I tried it and I loved it. Here's the other weird thing that had happened. We have paprika, and the paprika, my husband had it on the table, and Tommy moved it from one table to the other table. That's what he did. Because my husband put it on that table and I couldn't find it. We found it on the other table.
Oh, wow. Incredible. Well, I love curry too. We have this beautiful Irish pub here in Santa Barbara called Dargan's, and I'll go in there and I'll order their curry, and I'll actually order it with fries, and it comes with rice, and I'll just mix it all together. Oh, and the curry is so good. It is so, so good. I love it. I have really enjoyed our conversation here on the program today. I'm very excited for you, and as I said earlier, you're not looking at an end game here. You're just looking at enjoying each step along the way, and who knows what the next step is going to be, and the next step after that, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying that I see this, but who knows? Maybe somebody will sit down, take your book, and write I don't know how a script for this thing to be performed on Broadway, because it sounds like it could be, especially with the music incorporated into it. Would that be fun?
That would be excellent. We're going to definitely have a soundtrack. Definitely. That's my big thing is we're going to have a soundtrack to the movie and everything. And I think that's going to work. I'm really, really, I have to say I'm blessed with the friends that I have. I was very shy about talking about Tommy being my life. A friend of mine said to me, you know what? She said, Tommy's in your life.
Yeah.
And then another person said, yeah, Tommy's in your life. I'm like, okay. And I was just so shy. And then I met people and I told them, and just little bits and tidbits. And I'm like, finally, just like, I had to tell them. I said, okay, he's in my life, you know.
Well, that's
And they
exciting.
believe me. They
Yeah.
believe me. And
And
I
that,
wanted to say this. This is important, that there are other people out there who have experiences. And I really believe that they should not be afraid to come forward and say their experiences to other people. You know, talk about it.
here,
I
here.
really believe that there are people that are in the closet, so to speak, that they're scared. They're saying, okay, I experienced this. This is taboo. This is taboo. I'm like, no, this is not taboo. This is not. And I think the more people start to understand this, the better for that person.
Yeah. That's so important.
That,
We say that on this, I say that on this program all the time, that your experiences are just that. They are your experiences, and there is no one, not me, not anyone else, who is, I am definitely not going to say, no, no, because it doesn't say it in the book, so it didn't happen to you. Absolutely not. If you had that experience, it has now shaped who you are today. And for someone to take that away from you by defaming you or discrediting what you're saying or discouraging you from talking about it, oh, that's to me the unpardonable sin, if you will. People's experiences uh, form so much of who and what they are. And in your case, the experiences you've had over the last 20, 30, 40 years, they've shaped who you are today and what you are creating. And I say what you are creating with the obvious proviso that through you and the support, encouragement, and inspiration of so many others living in this world and not living in this world, Tommy, I'm talking about you.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that's one of the other things that I mentioned too, is that I'm here talking with you today because of all of the things that have come my way over the last 40, 50, 60 years, if you will. But I didn't get here on my own. I got here talking with you, Joyce Isaacson, about I wish you were here because of thousands and thousands of people over the decades. And I can't name them all, but I acknowledge them all and thank them for doing so. And I know you do the same thing.
I do.
And do me a favor, next time you do chat with Tommy, just tell him I said hi. I
Oh,
think that what he's doing
he's
is a
definitely,
great, just he's doing a great work through you. He really is. And I'm so glad that you've got that. We're
I
talking
believe,
with Joyce. Go ahead.
I just believe that this story could not have happened without him.
Yeah.
It would not have happened. And another thing I wanted to add is that because of what we're going through right now with the pandemic, and unfortunately people are passing away, I'm also trying to give them hope that there is definitely an afterlife and that they are okay
Yeah.
and
Well,
moving forward. That's important to me.
we thank you. Oh, yes, very, very. We have been talking with Joyce Isaacson here on Tell Me Your Story. Joyce, I have three final questions I want to ask you before we wrap up, but I want to remind our listeners this program is here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., streaming live at richarddugan.com. Podcast broadcasts are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, and a whole bunch of other places. If you like what we're doing, please help us out financially by going to PayPal or Patreon and giving us whatever support you can. We'll take energetic support too. Send us some good energy this way. And please participate in 2020, the year of perfect vision, as well as the 2020s, the decade of perfect vision. We'll start that now. And get involved in yourself. Go within. Maybe you may find that same archangel, that same guardian angel that Joyce has found in her life. May not be the same. It may not be Tommy, but it may be someone else who is there. I know that growing up as a Catholic, they always told us that we always had a guardian angel with us, and so you've got to trust that they're there. They're there to help you. They're there to support. All you have to do is call on them and say, "Hey, where are you? How I need to talk to you. Um, and maybe again put it in the context of statements, not questions, because they are not prophets or mediums. They're there to
No.
help and support you, and you have to seek out the answers yourself in that respect. In that, no one's just going to hand it to you, and so please do that during this year and this decade of the
Yeah.
2020s. So, my first question for you, author of Wish You Were Here. You said you're also on Facebook, a
Mhm.
rock fantasy. First question is, who is Joyce Isaacson?
Oh, that's an interesting question. And, well, um, I think that I'm pretty creative. I like to draw. I love to write. I'm a, I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother, believe it or not. Try to make good meals for my husband. I take care of a cat. Um, Sometimes I feel like, how can I explain this? I get down on myself sometimes, and I feel like everything's sort of coming down on my head, unfortunately, sometimes. And I doubt myself. I really do. I have these doubts. And if it wasn't for my friends on this side and the friends on the other side, I don't know where I would be, honestly. I always ask God, I say, God, help me with this, help me with that, and everything like that. I do pray and stuff like that. And the answers and the comfort starts to come, which is a good thing. But I don't like say, okay, Tommy, where are you, or whatever, talk to me, blah, 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 blah. I say, please, God, please help me, And sometimes I'll say to Tommy, I'll just say, hello, something like that. But I don't go into, I let him basically lead the conversation and stuff like that. The other day, I admit I felt really sick and I didn't feel well. And he kept saying to me, oh, you're not feeling well? I said, no, I'm not feeling well. I wanted to just upchuck, unfortunately. And he said, why don't you go lie down and see how you feel and everything. So I went and lied down and we talked. And he told me some things and he told me some things in the future, and I'm still waiting for those things to happen. But I'm not going to say what they are because I believe that some things will not happen if you say them until they actually materialize. So, but that's, but I don't use him as a medium. I don't use him, as a prophet. I'm not a prophet. I'm just, you know, I'm the divine inspirations, I guess is the word, I guess it would say that, and a lot of people have it, and they shouldn't know not to be afraid of it. They shouldn't know that, and that's the bottom line.
Okay.
They have to not be afraid. They
Question
always
number,
trust in God.
mhm. Question number two. What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you're doing now?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I would like to get some money from the movie and everything, and it's also from the book. And I would like to move to Israel, where my brother is, actually, and be near him. I don't want to downsize. My husband's like, we're going to downsize. I'm like, no, we're not. We're not going to do that. And the other thing I wanted to do is help my brother with money. And I have a girlfriend that I want to help fix her roof. So I have people to help. And if I'm in that position to help, I'm going to do it. I'm also giving from the book a percentage of to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline for the book. So that's really important. And I also I'm supposed to get hopefully some money coming in from a friend who said he believes so much in my book and my movie, he wants to give me some money for it, and I want to help some of my other friends with that as well. So these are the things I want to do. I want to be in that position to help.
And finally, what is your life's purpose?
My life purpose, I think, is to help people um, um, and to entertain them, to give them hope. That's another thing that I believe in. Encouragement. Um, let's see. I want to make them happy. That's another thing I want to do. I compliment as much as I can to people because I think that it really helps them in the long run. Those things are important to me as well.
Well,
That's
Joyce
my thing.
Isaacson, I thank you so much for being here on the program. We look forward to talking with you again as all of these incredible happenings unfold from the book to the movie to the audiobook. And we look forward to getting some fresh reports about some guidance Tommy has given you and some insights that you have achieved over the course of time when we do talk to you again. So please, let's stay in touch. Let's have you back
Yeah,
for a follow-up, especially in light of the sequel.
I should let you. Oh gosh, this phone thing is like driving me nuts. Um, I wanted to say that my book is on Pendant Publications, and it's also on Amazon. And the sequel will hopefully be on pre-order very soon. So
Mhm.
we'll have that going. Um, as I mentioned, the newsletter, people can reach me if they would like to join my newsletter. It's at SharonJ0023 at yahoo.com. So people, it's becoming very interesting, this newsletter. I have a Badfinger contest I'm running, believe it or not, and you can win a $5 gift certificate from Amazon. You answer the questions, and in time, it's sort of a rapid Badfinger thing on email.
And
So
for the Facebook fans, how would they find you on Facebook?
Wish You Were Here, a rock fantasy by Joyce Isaacson. Let's see. That's basically how you find me.
All right.
Um,
Well, we will stay in touch with you, and we'll let people know how to get in touch with you as well, whether it be
yeah,
the email or the Facebook. And again, we thank you so much for being here on Tell Me Your Story.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
You bet. I'm Richard Dugan. This has been Tell Me Your Story, and I'd like to thank you for listening to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Until our next broadcast podcast, love to love.